Hi, I'm Jami Philbrick for IamRogue.com. I'm here in San Diego at Comic-Con International 2013 talking to some of the cast and crew of the new film Metallica Through the Never. I had a chance to speak with band members Lars, Ulrich, and Robert Trujillo, as well as director Nimrod Antal about the new film. Here's what they had to say. What was sort of your concept for shooting a concert film, but with a narrative the way this movie came out?
I had an idea in place for the narrative, and it was a very loose idea initially. And I pitched them that idea. They've always represented kind of fuck you music for me, so this was very much that. Protest was something that was, and that is very relevant in our world today. So that was kind of the seed, and from that it just kept on morphing, and ultimately it accumulated with the meeting their crew and meeting the people that work for them, and seeing how loyal and how passionate those people are.
Well, actually, it goes back to some kind of monster. Part of the reason, or the main reason that we felt that film resonated so well, especially in the film community, was because there was kind of a dramatic arc to it. There was a narrative kind of, unwilling narrative as our lives were, sort of unfolding and taking a turn for the worse. But we just wanted to kind of do a different take on a concert film, and we figured that one way of doing that, and a movie we had never seen, was to kind of make a movie that had a concert and a narrative, and kind of had these two worlds kind of sort of interweave and kind of parallel universes. So, it's a story about Trip, played by Dane DeHaan, and about his escapades as he's, running an errand for the Metallica show, and you follow him closely, and then you follow the Metallica, concert, and it sort of unwinds in real time, and it's unlike anything you've ever seen, and that we're very proud of.
It was like, well, if we're going to do this, we want a narrative. We gotta have a director. We want somebody who has film making experience in terms of film production and all that, and not just concert making experience. So at that point, we were in the hunt for a director who was going to be motivated and also be willing to collaborate with us and our vision as well. And there's mutual respect there. And Nimrod came in really full of fire and passion and to take on this challenge.
Tell me about working with Nimrod, and why was he the right guy to direct this film?
Well, Nimrod was had the right level of madness. When Metallica does these types of things, we have a tendency to just sort of like jump and go for it, and we don't really sort of plan or consider the whole thing through. So we need people with us who are willing to take those jumps, and that don't ask too many questions, and that just want to go along for the ride. And Nimrod was sort of mad enough to buy into our madness, and so he went for it. And his Eastern European upbringing and his Metallica, what role Metallica played in his life. And I spoke to a lot of people in Hollywood who had no idea what I was talking about when I tried to explain to them what this movie was going to be and what kind of a creative partner that we needed for this film. And Nimrod was the first one that bought into it, so we jumped with him.
I mean, I was just driving down the other day and kind of reminding myself of this journey, and it's just like, you just did a flick with Metallica, and that's a pretty cool feeling. It was something that I am very grateful, and I feel very humbled by the whole thing.
We had songs kind of figured that we'd want to do, and sometimes directors will be like, no, I want to do this song and this song and this song and this song. So he accepted all that and took it as a challenge and started writing something, preparing something that worked. And we all had ideas that we contributed. I had some huge ideas that appear in the film, and I'm really happy about that.
What were your ideas?
The car accident, and it even like the puppet hanging on the rearview mirror. Because I was like, the puppet's got to be on the rearview mirror. Originally, it was on a bicycle or something. And I go, no. I said, production assistants don't cruise around on bicycles with rusty chains.
Tell me about how you decided to utilize 3D in the film, and not just use it as a gimmick, but really, use it well in the concerts footage.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, I think the 3D enhances things, especially emotionally. It really draws you in. But in my process with anything I do is the format, though important, doesn't really dictate the story. Doesn't really dictate my choices in in camera movement or in camera composition, but seeing it and having it as a tool was a lot of fun, and I think that it definitely enhances the experience. You're there. I mean, you're on the drum riser. You're sitting on Lars's seat. I mean, it's pretty cool.
What we're trying to do is create, with the concert stuff, the music stuff, is to create a little bit more of a sense of depth. Most concert stuff that you see has a tendency to be shot from the audience, or kind of sort of from the audience's point of view, looking in, or looking at the concert. And what we're trying to do is to bring the audience up on stage. And so a lot of the film, or a lot of the music in the film, is shot up on stage. Kind of, you're right there in the drums with me, right next to James as he's singing, kind of all that stuff. And since it's in 360, because we play in the round, all the music stuff kind of has it's benefited by the added depth that 3D is bringing. That's kind of what we wanted to do. It's not so much about me sticking a drumstick in your eye. It's more about the depth that 3D kind of in those Pixar films and that type of stuff. How just you're sort of immersed in the film rather than watching the film.
You're really aware of it, but at the same time, you want to be natural. And we did 2 weeks of preparation in Mexico City to 20,000 fans a night. Chain link fence. It was the most incredible crowd ever, and that was our training ground. And we had to learn the lay of the land so we didn't get blown up. There's a lot of things that are popping out of the stage. There's explosions, a lot of pyrotechnics, and then we also had to learn the lighting cues, and you got to condition yourself for that too. It's a lot of running around. It's the size of a hockey, the ice of a hockey rink, and then there was the elevation factor in Mexico City, all that. We got it down there, and then we ended up heading up to Canada to actually film this thing. And we were ready as a band, and even our lighting technicians and sound, everything, we were all ready. And it was a lot of work. And you got to give credit to our crew, because they were working on this thing for a year before we even stepped on that stage. So,
what songs can fans expect? Are they going to hear the classics, or there's some new stuff in there too?
There are no unheard songs. I mean, it's there aren't any great surprises. I mean, it's not some extended version of a deep track from Reload. It's the songs that you may have heard on the radio. So we obviously figured that the soundtrack to this type of escapade would be benefited by songs that may be a little bit more in the toe-tapping department than some of the crazier, nuttier stuff that's buried deep in our records. So I hesitate to use the word hits, but you use the word classics, so thank you for that.
Classics for sure.
Yeah, it's more in that direction. Yeah.
You're a classic. Thanks, man. It was great meeting you. Yeah, been a big fan for a long time.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, man.